Hello everyone. Today I am starting chapter 9 of class 12th coordination compounds part 4. In this part we will study about crystal field theory, metal carbonyls, colors in coordination complexes and uses and applications of coordination complexes in our day-to-day life. Learning objectives of this part are that after this part of the chapter, students will be able to know the concept of crystal field theory, that is CFT, explain the crystal field splitting of d orbitals in the presence of ligands for complexes having coordination number 4 and 6. They will be able to define and explain the crystal field splitting energy, that is CFSE, for complexes having coordination number 4 and 6. You will be able to identify the types of ligands, that is strong field ligand and weak field ligands, and their influence on the hybridization, geometry and magnetic moment of the complexes. You will be able to explain the reason for colors of coordination complexes. You will be able to explain the bonding in metal carbonyls. You will also be able to explain the stability of coordination complexes. You will be able to know the importance and applications of coordination compounds. So I am starting this chapter with crystal field theory. Now valence bond theory considered the bonding between the metal ion and the ligands as purely covalent. On the other hand, CFT assumes that the metal ion and the ligands are point charges and the interaction between them are purely electrostatic. Now, if the ligands are negative ions, then this interaction is called ion-ion interaction. And if the ligands are neutral molecules, then this interaction are called ion dipole interactions. Now, whenever metal ion is free, that is not under the influence of the ligands, then the 5d orbitals are having same energy and these orbitals are called degenerated orbitals. Now, when ligands approach towards the metal atom for bond formation, then due to the repulsion between the electron pair of the ligand and the electrons present in the orbitals of the metal, the degeneracy of the d orbital is lifted and they split into two sets of orbitals. Now this splitting, that is the splitting of the d orbitals into two sets of orbital under the influence of ligand, is called crystal field splitting. Now I am explaining you the crystal field theory for octahedral complexes. Now first of all, you should know the shapes of all the 5d orbitals. You know that there are 5d orbitals: dz square, dx square y square, dxy, dxz and dyz. And we know that the d orbital shape is bidumble shape. Now see the figure first. Here the A figure is of dz square and the orbitals are along the z-axis. Similarly, dx square y square are again along the x and y axis. dxy, both the lobes of the d orbitals are in between the axis. In dxz and dyz, again the lobes are in between the axis. Means first two d orbitals, that is dz square and dx square minus y square, the lobes are present on the axis, and in rest three orbitals the lobes are present in between the axis. Now because we are talking about octahedral complexes, so the direction is octahedral and ligand approach from the axis, along the axis. You can see the ligands as blue colored negative ions. Now when these ligands approach towards the metal atom, then the first two orbitals, that is dz square and dx square minus y square, comes in their direction, directly in their direction, because they are present on the axis. Hence they feel greater repulsion and their energy increases and they goes to the higher energy level and called Eg orbital. You can see the next figure, bottom figure, that 2d orbitals move to the higher energy level and these are called Eg orbitals. And rest 3d orbital, that is dxy, dzx and dyz, are feel lesser repulsion because their lobes are in between the axis, so they do not feel much repulsion and hence they are having less energy and they are termed as T2G orbital, as you can see in the figure. Now I am again explaining you these things, that the shapes of d orbitals reveal that dx square minus y square and dz square orbitals have lobes along the axis, so they are in the same direction along with the ligand approach, and these orbitals feel greater repulsion and raise to the higher energy level and are called Eg orbitals. While the other three d orbitals, that is dxy, dyz and dzx, have lobes in between the axes. Consequently, their lobes do not face the ligands effectively. As a result, they feel lesser repulsive interaction and hence the energy gets lowered, and these three d orbitals are called T2G orbitals. You can see clearly in the figure. Now the next term is crystal field splitting energy, that is CFSE, or we can represent it as delta O. O means for octahedral complexes. Now, splitting of d orbitals under the influence of ligand is called crystal field splitting, and the difference of energy between the two sets of degenerated orbitals, that is between the T2G and EG orbitals, is called crystal field splitting energy or CFSE. Now it has been calculated that the increase in stabilizing energy for EG orbital is greater, that is it is 3 by 5 or 0.6 delta O, while the decrease in stabilizing energy for 3 T2G orbital is less, and it is 2 by 5 delta naught or 0.4 delta naught. Now the next term is spectrochemical series. Now what is spectrochemical series? The crystal field splitting energy is not same for all the ligands. The amount of this energy is different for different ligands. So when the ligands are arranged in the increasing order of their CFSE, the series so formed is called spectrochemical series. Now in the figure, spectrochemical series is given where I minus is the weakest ligand and carbonyl, that is CO, is the strongest ligand. They are arranged in the increasing order. Now I minus to H2O are considered as weak field ligand, and from NCS minus to CO, that is carbonyl, they are considered as strong field ligands. Now ligands with high CFSE, that is for strong ligands, they cause greater crystal field splitting. So electrons are not able to move from T2G to EG orbitals, and hence pairing of electrons takes place, which results in the low spin complexes, as when pairing takes place, so the number of unpaired electron decreases. Hence the magnetic moment also decreases. Now, ligands having low CFSE are called weak field ligands. They cause lesser crystal field splitting. So, electrons are easily moved from T2G to EG orbitals, which results in the low spin complexes with less magnetic moment. Now, it is very difficult to learn the order of the series for you. So, there is a small trick for you, and this trick is very, very useful for you. So, just watch this very carefully. So trick to find out strong field or weak field ligands. First of all, you should know that what is the donor atom of the ligand. Now, if the donor atom is halogen, sulfur or oxygen, then the ligand are called weak ligands or weak field ligands. For example, all the halogens, that is fluoride, chloride, bromide and iodide ion, OH minus ion, SCN minus ion, C2O4 minus 2 ions. In all these four, the donor atom is either halogen, in OH minus it is oxygen, in SCN it is sulfur, in C2O4 2 minus it is oxygen. So they all are considered as weak ligands. So you can easily find out the donor atom, and with the help of donor atom you can find out the type of ligand. Now similarly, the ligands in which donor atom is carbon or nitrogen or phosphorus, then they are termed as strong ligand. For example, CN. Here the donor atom is carbon. In NC, the donor atom is nitrogen. In CO, the donor atom is carbon. In carbonyl, the donor atom is C. Now, ammonia, the donor atom is N. EN, that is ethylene diamine. Here, the donor atom is nitrogen. NCS, the donor atom is N. In NO2, the donor atom is N. In triphenylphosphine, donor atom is phosphorus. In trimethylphosphine, there is donor atom is phosphorus. And in EDTA, that is ethylene diamine tetraacetate, the donor atom is nitrogen. Now, if the ligand is a strong field, you can easily find out with the help of these tricks. So, if the ligand is a strong field, that means they are having high CFSE, and in this case, CFSE is greater than pairing energy. So, pairing takes place. That means the complexes are having lesser magnetic moment. Now, if the ligands are weak, that means they are having less CFSE and pairing energy is greater than CFSE. So, pairing is difficult and hence electron excited to the higher energy level and high spin complexes are formed. That means number of unpaired electrons are more. So, the complexes are having high magnetic moment. Now, the next topic is filling of electrons in d orbitals in case of strong field and weak field ligands. Now, look here in the figure. The first block is for D1, second is for D2, third is for D3. Now for D1, D2 and D3, the configuration is same in both the cases whether the ligand is strong field or weak field. So in case of D1, the configuration is T2G1. In case of D2, the configuration is T2G2. In case of D3, the configuration is T2G3. Now, fourth case, that is D4. Now here, the cases for strong field and weak field ligands are different. First, I am taking for downwards, that is for strong field ligand. For strong field ligand, the CFSE is more. So, the excitement of electron is not takes place and the electron pair up in the T2G orbital. So, the configuration is T2G4. Now, if we talk about the weak field ligand, then the CFSE is less. So, the pairing energy is more, hence the electron moves to EG orbital and the configuration is T2G3 EG1. Similarly, in D5, for strong field ligand, the configuration is T2G5 and for weak field ligand, the configuration is T2G3 EG2. Now, for D6 configuration, in case of strong field ligand, the configuration is T2G6 and for weak field ligand, the configuration is T2G4 EG2. Now coming to the D7 configuration, for strong field ligand, the configuration is T2G6 EG1 and for weak field ligand, it is T2G5 EG2. Now, again in D8, D9 and D10, the configuration is same for the strong field and weak field ligand. For D8, it is T2G6 EG2. For D9, it is T2G6 EG3. And for D10, it is T2G6 EG4. Now, according to the electronic configuration, you can find out the number of unpaired electron, and with the number of unpaired electron you can say whether the substance is or whether the complex is paramagnetic or diamagnetic. If the complex is having unpaired electron, then it is paramagnetic, and if the complex is having all the electrons paired, then the complex is called diamagnetic. Moreover, more the number of unpaired electron, more is the paramagnetism of the complex. Now, the next is crystal field theory for the tetrahedral complexes having coordination number 4. Now see the figure, second figure. In tetrahedral complexes, ligand approach towards the metal atom in such a way that the d orbitals present in between the low axis, that is dxy, dyz and dxz, experience greater repulsion. So, due to greater repulsion, T2G orbitals, that is Txy, Dyz and Dxz, are in higher energy state. As you can see in the figure first, that 3 or d orbitals are in the higher energy state as compared to the 2 lower energy d orbital, that is called Eg orbitals. So in this case, T2G orbitals are in higher energy state and Eg orbitals are in lower energy state. The increase in CFSE delta T, T for tetrahedral, for 3 T2G orbital is 2 upon 5 delta T, while the decrease in the stabilizing energy for the other 2 Eg orbital is 3 by 5 delta T. Now the next topic is colors of coordination compounds. Now what is the reason for the color of coordination complex? The reason is simply DD transition. Now what is this DD transition? When white light passes through the sample of coordination compound, then they absorb certain wavelength from that light, and by absorbing this energy, electrons are excited from T2G to EG orbitals. And this transition of electron from T2G to EG is called DD transition. And due to this DD transition, some coordination complexes exhibit specific color. Now, the color of the complex which appears is complementary to the color which is absorbed. For example, you can see the table at the bottom, different colors. The third column is the color absorbed and the fourth column is for the color which the coordination complex appears. Like yellow color, if absorbed, then it appears to be violet. If the blue green color is absorbed, then the complex appears to be red. So the color of the complex which appears is complementary to the color which is absorbed. Now, some complexes are colorless, some d orbital complexes, but they are colorless. Why? Because they do not have unpaired d electrons, due to which dd transition is not possible. Generally, complexes with D0 configuration like scandium plus 3 or titanium plus 4 and D10 configuration, that is full filled configuration, that is Zn plus 2, Cd plus 2, are colorless as they have no unpaired electron, so there is no DD transition. Now, in the absence of ligand, crystal field splitting does not occur and hence the substance is colorless. For example, when we remove the water from hexa aqua titanium complex, then how we remove the water? By heating. So if we heat it, then all the water which are present as a ligand will remove and the color of the complex becomes white. Similarly, in anhydrous copper sulfate, the color is white because all the 5 molecules of water of crystallization will remove, due to which it appears blue in color. Now, colors of some gemstones. Ruby. Ruby is red in color. Now, why it is red in color? Because ruby is actually aluminum oxide, in which 0.5 to 1% chromium plus 3 ions are present, gives this ruby red color. Similarly, emerald is having some chromium plus 3 ions, and it is actually the mineral beryl BeAl2Si6O18, and due to the presence of Cr plus 3 ion, its color is blue-green. Now, bonding in metal carbonyls. Metal carbonyls are homoleptic complexes. Homoleptic means all the ligands are same, in which carbonyl ligands are linked to the metal atom by coordination bonds. In all the metal carbonyls, the metal atom is in zero oxidation state. The structure of some well-known metal carbonyls are given in the figure. The first is nickel tetracarbonyl, which is tetrahedral in shape. Second is FeCO5, that is trigonal bipyramidal in shape. The third is CrCO6, it is octahedral in shape. In addition to mononuclear metal carbonyl, there are some polynuclear metal carbonyl also possible. For example, Mn2CO10. In figure, the first one is Mn2CO10, where 2 manganese central atoms are surrounded by 10 carbonyl ligands. And the second figure is of CO2CO8, where 2 cobalt atoms are surrounded by 8 carbonyl ligands. Now, bonding in metal carbonyls. The metal carbon bond in metal carbonyl possesses both sigma and pi character. See the figure. The metal carbon sigma bond is formed by the donation of lone pair of electrons by the carbonyl carbon into the vacant orbital of the metal. You can see green color carbon atom orbital which is having green color donate the electron to the empty d orbital of metal and form a sigma bond. The metal carbon pi bond is formed by the donation of a pair of electrons from a filled d orbitals of metal into the vacant antibonding, that is pi antibonding orbital of the carbon monoxide. You can see it is shown by the curved arrow above and below. The metal ligand bonding creates a synergic effect which strengthens the bond between the carbonyl ligand and the metal. That is why this bond is very, very strong and stable. The stability of a complex in solution refers to the degree of association between the two species, that is metal and the ligand. Now the next topic is stability of coordination compounds. The magnitude of the equilibrium constant, that is stability constant or formation constant, quantitatively expresses the stability. Now I am taking one example. Metal reacts with 4 ligands to form Ml4 type complex. Then Larger the stability constant, the higher is the proportion of Ml4 that exists in the solution. Free metal ion rarely exists in the solution, so that metal will usually be surrounded by solvent molecules. Now when ligand approaches to form bond, they remove the solvent molecule and itself form bond with the metal atom. Now for simplicity, we ignore the solvent molecule here and write the stability constant as follows. Now this formation takes place in multiple steps. In first step, metal attach with one ligand to form Ml bond. Now K1, that is stability constant for this formation, is equal to the concentration of Ml, that is product, divided by concentration of metal into concentration of ligand. That is, the formula of K is concentration of product divided by concentration of reactant raised to power their stoichiometric coefficient. Remember this thing. Now in second step, Ml reacts with the another ligand to form Ml2. In third step, Ml2 reacts with the third ligand to form Ml3. And in fourth, the Ml3 reacts with the fourth ligand to form Ml4. Accordingly, the stability constant or the formation constant is given K1, K2, K3 and K4. Now overall stability constant of this reaction, that is M plus 4L gives Ml4, is given by beta 4 is equal to Ml4 divided by M and then L raised to power 4, because 4 ligands are present, so we keep it in the form of power. Now B4, that is the overall stability constant, it is equal to K1 into K2 into K3 into K4, or if the formation takes place in more than 4 steps, that is in n steps, then Bn is equal to K1 into K2 into K3 into K4 or so on till Kn. Now I am taking one example. Cu plus 2 when reacts with NH3, it forms CuNH3 plus 2. Then this monoamine complex reacts with another amine to form diamine complex. Diamine complex reacts with the third ammonia to form triamine complex. And the triamine complex reacts with the fourth ammonia to form tetraamine copper ion. And the stability constant K1, K2, K3 and K4 given in the similar manner. Now the overall reaction is Cu plus 2. When reacts with 4 molecules of NH3, it is converted into tetraamine copper plus 2 ion. Now, overall stability constant is given B4 is equal to CuNH3 whole 4 plus 2 divided by concentration of Cu plus 2 and concentration of NH3 raised to power 4, as 4 ligands are involved. Now, the successive stability constant decreases. Like in this case, log K1 is equal to 4, log K2 is equal to 3.2, log K3 is equal to 2.7 and log K4 is equal to 2. And the overall stability constant, that is log B4 is equal to 11.9. Now if we want to find out the instability constant or dissociation constant of coordination compound, then we can just reciprocate the formation constant and we can easily calculate the instability constant or dissociation constant. Now the last topic of this chapter is importance and application of coordination compounds. Now the first application of coordination complexes are in biological system. Now chlorophyll, which is the pigment present in the plants and responsible for the photosynthesis, is the coordination compound of metal magnesium. Similarly, hemoglobin, that is the red pigment of blood which acts as oxygen carrier, is the coordination compound of iron. Now vitamin B12, whose deficiency causes pernicious anemia, is a coordination compound of cobalt. Now, coordination complexes are also useful in medicinal chemistry. For example, EDTA, that is the complex of calcium. EDTA is ethylene diamine tetraacetate. EDTA complex of calcium is used in the treatment of lead poisoning. Actually, it reacts with lead to form a chelate and it is soluble in the body fluid and then excrete out from the body, and hence lead poisoning is removed. Now cisplatin is a coordination compound of platinum and which is used in the treatment of cancer. Excess of copper and iron are removed by chelating ligands like D-penicillamine and D-ferrioxim B via the formation of coordination compound. Now the third application of compounds are in catalysis. Coordination compounds are useful as catalyst also. Examples: rhodium complex, that is PH3P whole thrice RHCl, that is tris triphenylphosphine chloridorhodium, that is also called Wilkinson catalyst, and it is used for the hydrogenation of alkenes. Now the fourth application is in extraction or in metallurgical process. Extraction process of metals like those of silver and gold make use of complex formation. We already studied about it in the 6th chapter. Now, gold, for example, combined with cyanide in the presence of oxygen and water to form dicyanoaurate ion in aqueous solution. Now, from this, gold can be separated in metallic form when this complex reacts with zinc. Now, purification of metal can be achieved through the formation of subsequent decomposition of their coordination compound. First, metal is converted into its volatile compound, that is nickel tetracarbonyl. We already studied about in the same chapter. And then this nickel tetracarbonyl decomposed to yield pure nickel. Now the next is in analytical chemistry. Qualitative chemical analysis, nickel is detected by the formation of red complex with DMG. And the second is quantitative chemical analysis. EDTA, ethylene diamine tetraacetate, is used in the complexometric determination of several metal ions like calcium, zinc, iron, cobalt and nickel. Now the last is in the treatment of estimation of hardness of water. Hardness of water is estimated by simple titration with Na2-EDTA, that is the sodium complex of EDTA. The calcium and magnesium ions form stable complexes with EDTA, and the selective estimation of these ions can be done due to the difference in the stability constant of calcium and magnesium. Now, in next 3 slides, some important questions which comes in the board is given. So just try to solve all these questions because they are very important from the examination point of view. And if you feel any difficulty in solving these questions, you can comment me in the comment section. This is the first slide. 2007, 8, 9 and 10 questions are given. In the second slide, 2011, 12, 13 and 14 questions are given. And last slide, 2015, 16 and 17 questions are given. Hope you like the video. My videos cover each and every topic of NCERT. Check the description box for the other 3 parts of this chapter, that is part 1, 2 and 3. Please subscribe my channel for the upcoming videos. Thank you.